Happy Monday, friends! Today is going to be anatomy day. So we're going back to the basics, and I have some fun pictures for you. Specifically female anatomy today. We're going to start with the difference between vulva and vagina because they get interchanged a lot. And I'm going to go over specifically what actually is what, why it's important to know the difference, and especially why it's important to teach your kids the difference. And then I'll use the pelvic floor model and just show you a nice cross-section of the pelvic organs that kind of live inside that pelvic floor. It's just good for some context to kind of know what's where in relation to each other when it comes to symptoms. So a lot of times vulva and vagina actually get interchanged, and hopefully Facebook doesn't kick this video out because I'm saying the word, but it's a body part, it's anatomy, there's nothing vulgar about it. It is what it is. It's no different than saying index finger, really. So the vulva is what's actually on the outside of the body. The vagina technically is inside the body. So I have a nice picture. Let's see if I can do this backwards. And I'm sorry if the words are backwards. I'm not sure how it'll appear. But so you see here how the vulva is everything on the outside. And it can even be further broken down into the clitoris, which is up here at the top. Your urethral opening is where the pee comes out of. So it's just kind of south, I guess. This would be like the view with your feet kind of towards the camera. So there's the urethral opening where you pee from. The vaginal opening is right there. The perineum is the tissue between the vaginal opening and the anus, or where the poop comes from. Typically, when it comes to vaginal deliveries, this is the area that gets torn. So this perineum can be kind of smaller, shortened rather, or have scar tissue through it if there was any tearing during a vaginal delivery. And then when it comes to the labia, there are two sets. There's the labia minora, which are on the inside here, and then the labia majora are on the outside. Now, unless you've removed the hair, the labia minora has no hair, and the labia majora does. There's no hair on this picture just because it makes it a little easier to see, but typically you'll have hair all up in there until it comes to the labia minora and then on the inside. Now, I frequently get asked, do I look normal down there? And the answer almost always is absolutely. So vulvar tissue is very much like your face, okay? For the most part, everybody has two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. But we all look different. And so it's the same with the vulvar tissue. You have labia minora, majora, clitoris, perineum, that vaginal opening. They just all come in different shapes and sizes and different packages, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We just don't tend to see a lot of other people's, but as somebody who has seen, gosh, I don't even know, I stopped counting after like 500 patients, it's fine. They all look different. It's only if you're having like pain or any irritation that you would need to tell your doctor about it. Okay, so that's vulva. Now, vagina is the actual part that is inside of your body. So, vulva would be all this on the outside. Now, the vagina is just right here, and it's the little canal that goes from the outside up to the cervix and then the uterus. Okay, when you put a tampon in, that's where it goes. The vaginal opening is what you see on the outside. Now, why is it important to know the difference? Well, one, besides just being correct, is it's also important to teach your kids the actual anatomical names to their body parts and not nicknames. If you routinely call your vulvar tissue like cookie or whatever other term that has been on TV and such, it's really hard for them to tell somebody if something not okay has happened down there, right? Because if they say, well, so-and-so touched my cookie, that's really not going to ring any alarm bells unless you specifically know that they're talking about their external genitalia. So genuinely, it is only weird if you make it weird. If you teach kids the actual names to their body parts growing up, then they can tell somebody if something is wrong on the inside versus the outside, and vice versa. And there is a book, there's kind of a book series that goes with teaching kids about their anatomy and just, you know, birds and the bees and all the things, and it's age appropriate. So there's one book for like 4 to 7-year-olds, and then there's another book for like 8 to, I think, 11-year-olds, then starts to talk about like puberty, and then there's another book that goes from 12 up, and shoot me a message if you want the link to those books, but that's what I've gone over with my kiddos. And fun fact, we were at the doctor's office when my daughter was, I don't know, she was like 4 or something, and he said, now I know what your mom does for a living. What's, you know, a fun anatomy word that you know? And she says, vulva. And I'm like, that's my girl. So here is a nice cross section when it comes to female anatomy with the pelvic organs down there. So this would be the front on the back side of the pubic bone. This would be the back, kind of by where the tailbone is. And so you've got the bladder with the bladder neck, and then you've got the vagina, the cervix with the uterus, and then the very bottom portion of the colon, so then going into the rectum where stool is stored, and then the anus. So just when it comes to like prolapse and such, it's named by what organ is pressing into that vaginal canal. So it would be a cystocele if the bladder is coming in, it would be a rectocele if the rectum is coming in, and then all sorts of other names. But this is kind of a nice visual of how everything is aligned. And it also makes sense why when you're pregnant and this uterus gets bigger and bigger and bigger, that baby literally is sitting on top of your bladder. So I hope you guys learned something today. And then, you know, the same thing with when it comes to male genitalia in terms of penis and testicles, not balls and all sorts of other words that people have come up to describe external genitalia. So, all right, have a great day. Next week, I'm going over C-sections. So specifically, you know, scar tissue and what all happens during a C-section, at least from the point of view of somebody who's never performed one, but just kind of I work with the tissue aftermath of what happens after C-sections. So have a great week and enjoy the weather as it gets nicer.